Hello and welcome to Precon Decon, the video series where normally I deconstruct the pre-constructed decks of Magic the Gathering's history, or, given recent videos, make budget casual Magic the Gathering decks. Really hope people are enjoying those Get Decked videos. They seem to be generating a lot of engagement, which is always nice to see. But I thought I'd come out with another Trash Talk video, and similar to my last Trash Talk video, where I was talking about what I was hoping to see in Modern Horizons 3, I decided to keep this one kind of topical as well. And basically, I saw a recent Reddit post that kind of inspired the idea of this video, and it's something I've kind of wanted to talk about kind of properly for a while. So I thought I'd just make this video, get it out there, kind of share my thoughts, and see if people thought likewise. So we've got Outlaws of Thunder Junction coming up on the horizon. This is a set I'm actually really looking forward to. Actually, I think this year the sets are looking pretty good. I'm actually kind of, even though I don't really buy or play these days, I'm still excited to see the cards because I really like the Weird West vibe of Thunder Junction. But also, like Bloomburrow looks like it's going to be great. So yeah, I think we've got like a really good year of releases coming up. I say even for like casual players like me, like even if you just want to like look at the cards and be like, oh, that's cool. Yeah, I think it's going to be a really good year personally. But yeah, so Outlaws and Thunder Junction, as I said, there was like a Reddit post a few days ago that inspired the creation of this video. And what it was, someone had basically managed to get their hands on like a pre-release pack and had posted some images of some cards they had opened. So I haven't like spoiled everything they posted. If you want to go look for it on Reddit, it's on the main MTG subreddit. If you want to look for that, and it's buried down. It's like marked as spoilers if you want to look at some of the cards. But this is one card that really got my attention at Knife Point, which is an enchantment, which says as long as your turn outlaws you control have first strike. And then it says assassins, mercenaries, pirates, rogues, and warlocks are outlaws. So this is like super flavorful, and it's an instance of batching, which we've seen before. And I say this kind of serves as the inspiration of the video. So just to like we said, so assassins, mercenaries, pirates, rogues, and warlocks are all outlaws, which obviously makes like complete sense. They're all lawbreakers. We've got Thunder Junction, which is all based around essentially like cowboys and desperados, that kind of thing, committing heists and crimes. That's like a big thing of the set. So it makes sense to kind of batch these creatures together into like quite a flavorful group, so then you can have a bunch of effects that say like, oh, outlaws you control get +1/+0, or outlaw spell, the first time you cast an outlaw spell you draw cards, stuff like that. And the whole point of batching is that it's flavorfully groups things together. So it's essentially like a shortcut in terms of rules text, isn't it? And we've sort of seen assassins and mercenaries and rogues get like kind of grouped together like this before, on this obscure card from the new Capenna commander decks, Marry the Killing Quill. So she groups assassins, mercenaries, and rogues together. So yeah, I thought it was just interesting. Those creature types have been grouped together under the outlaw label. And yeah, we've had batching before. The first time I really remember it coming up was in Dominaria, when we had historic spells. And historic spells are all artifacts, all legendary spells, and sagas, which are the enchantments that you work through in chapters. That's the first time I really saw like remember it coming up and like it being used a lot in that set. There was a whole bunch of like when you cast a historic spell, or if you control historic permanent, you get these bonuses. And like that's the whole point of set design, is you batch something so you can like then have a bunch of synergies with it. And the same in Neon Dynasty, you had like modified as a batching as well, which was equipment or as you control encounters on a creature, then it counts as being modified. And again, you had like a whole bunch of payoffs for having modified creatures, which again I thought was pretty cool. And historic has been used since it cropped up a little bit in the Lord of the Rings set, from what I remember. It's used a few times in command sets. Actually, one of the Doctor Who commander decks like uses historic a lot, which like makes sense, I suppose. Modified, I don't think has cropped up as much. I think there's like one new card from like the Fallout commander set that uses modified, but like this hasn't come back. And I guess this is maybe historic. I feel as like is more generic. That you could use it everywhere. As modified, I think has got to be like for a specific setting where, like in Neon Dynasty, like cybernetic augmentation and that kind of stuff is maybe more common. But so that was when batching was used to kind of group together, I guess, different types of spells. And I suppose we've had like creature batching before, in the way of Outlaws. In when we had Zendikar Rising, I can never remember what this third Zendikar set is, but where we had like the party creatures, and that was essentially like clerics, rogues, warriors, and wizards were like party creatures. It was done in sort of in a different way because it's not like it's not like, oh, like, party creatures you control get +1/+1. It's not written that way. It's more like you assemble a party. Like, as we see in the in the remind text, your party consists of one cleric, one rogue, one warrior, one wizard. So that's kind of it, I suppose. But from my mind, this is like sort of like the first time the outlaw thing is the first time we've actually had this kind of thing where we're just saying, right, these creature types are going to be referred to by this particular label, and that's obviously going to be used in design to like as essentially a shorthand to, so we don't have to always write out assassins, mercenaries, rogues, warlocks, and what was the other one? Pirates. That was the other one. So I do think it's a good idea, and I think like going forward, I think batching is like a really fun idea to because it can evoke a lot of flavor, right? And I'm always like for mechanics that like evoke a lot of flavor. And I just thought like what would be a fun idea for a video was like to propose some like batches of my own. I suppose that like could be fun to see in like, I don't know, like future sets or something, or like creatures that are kind of like thematically linked. I thought that'd be kind of a fun thought experiment to do. So, like, before I get into the ones that I came up with, I think there's like a big, I was gonna say elephant in the room. It's more like a kraken, leviathan, octopus, or serpent in the room. I think the sea monsters absolutely need to be batched. Like, if we're having outlaws, who are being batched like out of five, things that have never been batched together before. I say apart from that one obscure legendary creature from New Capenna Commander. The sea monster thing is kind of like been sprinkled about through sets before. I think this is something that really, really needs to be batched at some way because, you could have this just say whenever a sea monster you control deals combat damage, and then like you have the remind text. There's always the thing though with the remind text that like if you include the remind text, how much space are you really saving on the card? But once you establish it, then you can use it in future. But so whenever a sea monster you control deals combat damage, and then you say like krakens, leviathans, octopi, and serpents are sea monsters. I would also like to see like maybe like, I don't know, like whales become sea monsters. I feel like there's a few other like sort of like aquatic creature types that can maybe like be folded into the sea monster thing. Like it's weird to have octopus, but like not squid, that kind of thing. But yeah, that's like the honorable mention. That's one that kind of already exists and probably should be given like an official like batch label, in my opinion. But anyway, let's get into the ones that I thought of, and like I'd like to hear what people's opinions are, and if you agree with them. So, sort of like following on from Outlaws, I thought it would be fun to have Lawkeepers as as a direct opposite to Outlaws. So, Lawkeepers would be advisors, detectives, knights, rangers, and soldiers. And because all these really strike me as being like flavorfully they're more like law abiding. They follow the rules. Obviously, they're like mostly in white. You associate them, narratively with like like protecting people or locations, that kind of thing. Whereas obviously outlaws are out there committing crimes and hurting people and stuff. And I think this would be interesting because you could see Lawkeepers as being in Bant colours, whereas Outlaws are definitely like more in Grixis colours, because just because of how these creature types are normally divided up. So that was one I thought you could have like Lawkeepers. And then fighters, I thought could be a potential future batch. So, three of the creature types are represented here on Lovis of Cold Eyes, which is one of the first legendary creatures I ever remember like building like a deck around. It's like this obscure legendary creature from Cold Snap, and she's kind of like follows the old Lord templating, where she doesn't have like a creature type herself. She's like just a human. Whereas you could ask that you could argue that she should be like a human, like barbarian or something, but she gives benefits to barbarians, warriors, and berserkers, which I think those are three that could be classed under fighter, and also soldiers make a repeat appearance here because you could put soldiers under fighter as well. So I thought that could be a thing you could batch those four under the term of fighters. And then this one I thought of as well, brutes. So this I think would mostly be red green. So brutes is the idea I had because I come from like a essentially like a Warhammer background, and back in the day in Warhammer Fantasy there was like a unit classification of monstrous infantry, which was essentially like big lads. Like you wouldn't have as many of them, but they'd be on bigger bases, and it was exactly these kind of creatures. So like minotaurs, ogres, trolls, cyclops, and giants. I thought, they're essentially like usually big dumb lads who just hit you. So I thought that could be like a fun batching there. And then Undead. So this is one I'm actually kind of surprised hasn't been done in the same way as like the sea monsters have. So we got Undead Slayer here to represent it. I suppose also I could use Death Priest and Merkel. I think that targets all these ones as well. So Undead Slayer from M10 sort of does it already by like grouping skeletons, vampires, and zombies together, which is like kind of like the classic undead trinity. But also I'd throw in like spirits in there as well, because obviously spirits are ghosts, they're undead. So that could be a batching there of skeletons, vampires, zombies, and spirits as undead. And then sticking with the spooky theme, I don't have a great name for this, because every name I keep coming up like implies like spirits should be included as well. But basically, evil ghosts. So wraiths, shades, and specters. And then I've included Banshee here. So the Howling Banshee and all other Banshee cards have basically been spirits. But I would push that Banshee could be its own creature type. Yeah, I feel like it's distinctive enough, especially if you associate like mechanically with, I don't know, say like milling or discard or something in this way that specters do. So you could have like this whole tribe of like evil ghosts. And wait, maybe it wouldn't be popular enough to be like B batch, because like already these creature types already like fairly obscure. Anyway, it's not like there's a load of wraiths. The number of wraiths in the game essentially doubled just because of only like Lord of the Rings. And shades have always been there, just in the background. Like they're kind of usually like set filler. Like, oh, we need like a black common or uncommon. Like, oh, we'll just make a shade. Spectres show up occasionally as well. They're usually always linked to discard in some way. As I say, if you made Banshee its own creature type, I think this would be a good thematic linking here of wraiths, shades, specters, and banshees. So I can't think of a better name for it other than evil ghosts, but like that name implies that spirits should be included as well, and I don't want to include spirits in this batch. So if you've got an idea for like a good name for like this potential grouping, let me know in the comments below. And then another kind of like fan favorite, I think, or like another obvious one to me at least, is Unholy. So, sort of represented by Rakdos Showstopper here. Demons, Devils, and Imps. I think that's like just a absolute shoe-in, really. Like I feel like there should be more relation between those three creature types. Yeah, it just makes sense to me. And also like I was thinking like, oh, three's not really enough. I feel like minimum like for a batch you want to have like four. I think three like maybe it's not worth it. Um, but yeah, if you need a fourth one, maybe horrors. I was really kind of like umming and ahhing about this because horrors are normally more associated with kind of like Cthulhu-y, eldritch like gribbliness. But yeah, you could still say they're unholy abominations. So absolutely, they're just sort of like a different flavor unholy, I suppose, to demons, devils, or imps. But yeah, I thought those four could go together. And then this I thought was be a fun one, Outlanders. So I guess if we're talking like in D&D terms or or any kind of RPG terms, these are like like the primal classes. Like these are the outdoorsy ones. So this would be druids, rangers, barbarians, scouts, and shamans. I thought that's just like a fun grouping there. This could probably be like Jund colors, I suppose, or maybe Timur as colours, I suppose. But definitely, obviously red green in there because obviously that's where the majority of druids and shamans and rangers and barbarians are. So I thought that could be kind of fun. Have the Outlanders all grouped together. Right, and then reptilians. So this is going to be a problematic one as we're going to see. So yeah, it's again crazy how many kind of like reptilian creatures there are in the game. So at first, I narrowed it down to crocodiles, frogs, lizards, snakes, and turtles, which I thought like this could be a kind of okay, right? As reptilians, like kind of regular reptiles, you could like again come up with like kind of like fun synergies between them, like fun design elements, like I don't know, like oh, all your reptilian creatures get this bonus or whatever. What an amazing example that was right off the top of my head. But like there's you could link these five together. But the problem with reptilians, and this is like the one that I think wouldn't really work, is there are like so many like reptilian creature types in Magic the Gathering that you could like include within that batch, and like it would feel weird to exclude like some of them. So drakes, serpents, worms, Viashino, salamander, nagas, dinosaurs, hydras, dragons, all of those you could absolutely claim as being reptilian, and so not to include them in like that batch of 5 would feel weird because you're right, Viashino are obviously reptilian, like worms are obviously reptilian, serpents are obviously reptilian. So this is the one where I think like it wouldn't maybe work too well. But I just had to like throw this on that because like there's so many like reptilian creature types in the game. It's actually kind of crazy. But yeah, that's just a thought there. And then this is one again. I'm sort of surprised hadn't been done before. Arboreals, I've called them. So dryads, tree folk, and plants. And also maybe like throw in saplings as well, because I said earlier that like having just 3 is probably not worth it. But yeah, so again, this is me coming from like a Warhammer background. Like dryads and tree folk have like sort of like this natural kind of like synergy and like relationship with one another, just because I say that's how it used to be like in the old like wood elf army. Plants is kind of a weird one. There's very few actual like just 100% plant creatures. Mostly plant is like tacked on to something else. So there's a whole bunch of like plant elementals and plant zombies and plant skeletons. There's very few actual just plants, or plant walls as well as another one. So yeah, this I thought, they're all animated vegetation things. Yeah, I thought that fits in quite nicely. You give them a whole like synergy around like forests or like animating lands, that kind of thing. That could be something. And then the last batch, I thought, rather than batching by creature type, I thought, why not try batching by keyword? That might be kind of interesting. So this one I thought for like agile creatures. So that would be creature with first strike, double strike, haste, or flash. So those would all be considered like agile creatures. So mostly probably like in Jeskai colors. And again, like you'd build a whole bunch of synergies around it, like I know all agile creatures, do like the keyword share thing, where like if you have an agile creature with first strike, all your agile creatures have first strike, or do kind of like maybe like a sliver thing, like where they share out their keywords, something like that maybe. But I thought that could be like a fun thing, like batch by keyword abilities rather than by creature type. Another one I was thinking of was like stalwart, which could be like defender, vigilance, and ward, and indestructible maybe. That was just a thought. But yeah, so that was like a really rambling thing. It's like I really went down a bit of a rabbit hole because of that Reddit post showing off the outlaw batching. I'd like to know what you think about these. I appreciate like none of them will obviously come to pass. It's just kind of it was really just like more of a thought exercise. But if you've got like ideas for like batching, like creature types or like certain card types that you think would make sense, like being batched together and could be used thematically like within a set, and like there could be like a whole bunch of synergies like designed around them, like if it was a draft archetype or something, definitely stick a comment below. I'd like love to know what people think up or propose. I'd love to see what people think. So yeah, that was that was just a very rambling off topic little thought exercise I had. We're going to go back to obviously carry on with the get decked videos. We're going to have like 5 more of those. I'm really glad that people are enjoying those. But yeah, I'll be back next time. So yeah, thanks for watching, listening, and have a great day.